Now, as a reviewer, I have a few very simple rules how to make these videos. A, I'm trying to be as authentic as I can be, and if there is something negative, I will definitely tell you. B, every car has a story to tell and is interesting, but as a reviewer, you have to discover that story and make the car interesting. And C, you can never have too many all-wheel driven test cars in November when the winter is starting here in Germany. And so I was actually really excited when my contact at Seat called me and said, "Hey Guido, I have a brand new Seat Leon X-Perience here. Would you like to spend 2 weeks in this car?" And since I always had a little bit of a sweet spot going on for these estate cars with off-road look and raised suspension and all-wheel drive, of course I had to say yes. Some of you might remember my review of the Audi A4 Allroad that I did 2 years ago, and I actually reviewed that car twice, the pre-facelift and the facelifted version. That was actually my very first press car that I got from Audi, so I will always have a bit of a sweet spot for these cars. But the Leon X-Perience actually for me is a very, very good car in many ways, and I will be very positive about it because so far I've enjoyed driving this car a lot, I have to say. So we start with the look, and the look of this car for me is just unique and a little bit more interesting than a standard Leon estate car. Seat in general does a good job on their design, I think. You could totally put an Audi badge on this car, and for me it would go through as an Audi, especially in this gray, darker gray color here with the added off-road look, toughness on the fenders, and with the race suspension. It's just a great looking car in my opinion. I really do like the way it looks. And I can say the same about the interior of this car. The moment I got in here, I was pleasantly surprised, just like when I drove the Leon Cupra at the beginning of this year. So the driving position in this car here is bang on for me. You have a nice small steering wheel, leather wrapped, with perfectly placed pedals, and with the X-Perience actually you get this brown Alcantara interior here, which feels really, really nice, I have to say. Maybe not everybody likes the color, but with this red ambient lighting that you have here on the door, it actually does feel like a quality item. I really do like it. In this car I have the 180 horsepower petrol engine with a 6-speed DSG transmission, because my contact at Seat said, "Well Guido, I know you drive in a certain way, I want you to have the sportiest experience that you can get." Totally fine for me. I love the power plant in this car. Can't comment on the fuel consumption because yeah, the engine is basically brand new and I feel a bit bad for thrashing it as much as I have. But yeah, a good driving engine, a great power plant, DSG works very well. And we have this mode button down here that I already talked about in reviews of other VW Group products and the Leon Cupra, where you have 4 fixed settings to set up the car's chassis, steering, suspension, and also the dynamic chassis control. And that's a great working system actually. We have an eco mode, a comfort mode, and a normal mode. I would use these for my normal commuting and driving in a town. And we have a sport mode, which gives you firmer steering, firmer chassis. Yeah, and I use that actually most of the time. Seat does a great job on the way they set up their cars, I have to say. The steering in this car is pretty light, but there's still decent feel coming through it. For a car like this, it's actually perfect in my opinion. And the chassis doesn't have too much body roll, and I do get a confidence driving this car that really does get me excited. I mean, I was throwing this car around quite a bit, if I'm honest with you, and provoking the understeer that you get on the limit really on purpose. But for an experienced driver, that's actually really enjoyable. And for a normal person, you can just take your foot off the gas pedal and the car pulls right back into its line. It's just a very predictable and nice driving car. And yeah, the chassis deals with road imperfections perfectly. It's just a nice experience, and one of the first things that I did actually was taking it on a field road, driving up a hill, which maybe I shouldn't have done with a car that was as new as this, but that just shows you how much confidence I had in this car and how much you can take away actually from a raised suspension like this. So yeah, for me, it's a totally enjoyable experience to drive this car. Something that maybe not too many of you expect to hear from me, driving something that looks maybe as ordinary as this to you. But I do like cars like this, and maybe I will review a few more affordable cars and maybe even more Seat cars in the future, just because I think they do a great job and offer great value for money. So I won't really touch practicality too much. There are other reviewers that do that thing for you. going through a car in massive detail. I don't like doing that, but the driving experience of a car like this one, if you get a chance to drive a Leon X-Perience or something else from the VW group with a race suspension, is really something that I very much enjoy, and that's basically the best thing that I can tell you about this car. It's why I have really enjoyed driving it so far, and yeah, totally recommend it to people that want a nice daily driver that has a certain, you know, variety of things that you can do with it. I mean, of course you can't take it off-roading into the toughest terrain, but I drove through a forest in this car. I drove it on the field. I just did things that I wouldn't do with a normal estate car. And in the winter season, like we have it coming up here now, I think this is a great choice. But yeah, also a good daily driver. So before I keep on rambling, interestingly, I've done this in one take, it seems. Have a look at this car if you are living in a country where it's available. I know it's not a brand that you get in the United States or in Canada, even though this would be a great car for Canada, I think. But maybe that's going to change someday, you know. But I'm very thankful that I had the chance to drive with this car. Will enjoy it for another week here actually. And yeah, a great experience. A good car, nicely set up, great value for money, and that's all I can tell you about it. So I see you in one of the next videos, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one a bit, and yeah, take care, drive safely.